Here we are once again. We are in week 5 of mass communication and society. Last week we looked at the concept of ideology as a way of critically analyzing media texts. Ideology is a little bit more objective than, say, the concept of bias, which really depends on your political perspective. It's much more a subjective way of looking at media. Ideologies we can examine, we can see and critically analyze. Specifically, say, for instance, media's effect on politics. We read a little bit about that and the concept that we're actually seeing, a mass mediated version of politics rather than seeing any real political events aside from that mediated version that we're constantly exposed to. This week we look at the processes of representation and also concepts like the active audience. And we come back to a scholar by the name of Stuart Hall. I'll link you to that video of Stuart Hall lecturing, again, on representation. It's always great to see the master himself lecturing on this concept that he did a lot of work on, a lot of seminal work in the field of communication. Stuart Hall's encoding-decoding model is fairly simple. I have a rendition of it here. So far, the first couple of weeks of the course, we've been focusing more on the left side of the model, the encoding process. This is where we're looking at media industries and the advertisements as a funding base for the media industries and the working routines of news media and so on. For this 5th week, in the second half of the course, we start looking more at the right half of this model, which focuses more on the decoding process and the active audience and so on. And one key thing to remember about the encoding-decoding model is its fundamental asymmetry. All right? The messages that get encoded at one end of the model are never going to be exactly the same as the messages that get decoded on the other end. There's a fundamental asymmetry there, right? Your assignments for this week ask you to think about how you use mass media as an active audience. So you'll have a chance to discuss this in terms of fan art in the discussion. And also in your critical thinking assignment, you can choose between looking at selfie culture and selfies versus how we use podcasts and how podcasting has changed our relationship to radio. All right? Get back to me if you have any questions about the content this week, and I can be available if you need to brainstorm about your critical thinking assignment or anything. Okay, get back to me, and you all have a great, productive week.